What's going on the floor? It's the chair's intention to just continue through and rotate somebody presiding so we can get through the hearing. So let me start with you, Assistant Secretary Wallander. Some of this you've both have referred to, but I want to just detail the record. Is it accurate to say that Finland and Sweden have large, technologically advanced militaries, and both have long partnered with NATO, contributing to NATO operations, including in the Balkans and Afghanistan, and also understand that both countries either meet or have plans to meet the 2% NATO spending benchmark?
Yes, Senator, that is accurate.
Since Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, popular support for joining NATO in Finland and Sweden and their government's commitments to NATO have grown significantly. Secretary Donfried, can you speak to how attitudes towards joining NATO in Finland and Sweden have changed and where those countries stand today on the subject?
Yes, I agree with your analysis that February 24 fundamentally changed the perspective of both Finland and Sweden. We saw Finland very decisively make a decision then to move on NATO membership, and Sweden shortly joined Finland in that membership aspiration. And I think, it's interesting. There's a colleague of mine who works for the European Union who's talked about February 24 as Europe's 9/11. And I think for many Europeans, it was unthinkable before February 24 that Russia would undertake a full-scale, brutal, unprovoked invasion of its neighbor, Ukraine. And that action fundamentally shifted security perspectives. So I agree with you, that is how to understand the change in public opinion that we've seen in both countries and the strong support for NATO membership. Thank you.
Respect for human rights, commitments to transparency, rule of law, democracy are values that NATO members share and which are important to look at in assessing candidates for NATO membership. Assistant Secretary Donfried, can you speak to how Finland and Sweden exemplify those values?
I would be happy to do so. And when we're talking about Finland and Sweden, we're talking about two of our closest partners. And one of the fundamental things that unites us is our respect for democracy and human rights. And if you look at Sweden, there are so many examples that we could point to. One would be Sweden's one-year OSCE chairpersonship in 2021, where they played an important and visible role on so many issues. Ukraine already at that time, Belarus, the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and Transnistria. And Sweden brought to all of these conflicts its deep commitment to global democracy and human rights. We also see gender equality as a fundamental aim of Swedish foreign policy. And we also see Sweden as having been an active contributor to last December's Summit for Democracy, where Sweden co-hosted a side event on women's economic empowerment. I think there's no question that Sweden is deeply committed to advancing democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, and will do so also in its upcoming presidency of the European Council of the European Union in 2023. And then if we shift our attention to Finland, Finland too, in all of its foreign policy, has shown a deep commitment to promoting democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Finland has emphasized the importance of the rules-based international system to collectively resolve the world's most pressing global challenges. Finland, too, has been a leader in international fora, whether it is the number of Finns in the UN system and other key international organizations, whether it is promoting democracy in the OSCE, in the Human Rights Council. And I believe that we will see Finland continue to cooperate strongly with the United States, with the EU, and will bring that sensibility to NATO membership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Secretary Wallander, Finland has a long history of opposing Russian military advances, and Sweden has a well-equipped fighting force. Could you confirm that enlarging NATO to include Finland and Sweden will reduce the burdens, including defense burden on the United States, rather than increase them?
Senator, membership in NATO of Sweden and Finland would enhance the capabilities of the NATO alliance on both the ground, air, and sea domain, and in new domains of importance, including the cyber domain and combating Russian malign influence in the area of disinformation. And both countries bring strong economies and strong democratic support for defense spending. So the Department of Defense sees no negatives in the membership of Sweden and Finland on burden sharing or on the capabilities of the alliance.
Thank you. Now, Congress has a long and bipartisan track record of support for Baltic security, as well as a more generally robust defense of NATO's eastern flank. How would Sweden and Finland's membership in NATO affect our security posture in the eastern part of the alliance?
Well, we've already seen in just the last month the potential of an enhanced capability of NATO from the membership of Sweden and Finland with a participation in the Baltops exercise, which is vital for the ability of the NATO alliance to enhance the security in the Baltic region, where Russia is active and often irresponsible in its military presence. Already, Baltops has benefited from Swedish and Finnish participation as partners, but having a higher degree of interoperability and integration from members of the alliance would further support those kinds of planning and exercises.
Finally, Secretary Dunford, even though we don't yet have texts of accession protocols, all NATO accession protocols are substantively identical, and we are well positioned to assess the candidacies of Finland and Sweden even prior to the signature of the protocols. Would you say that that's your understanding as well as it relates to the protocols?
Yes, my understanding is that once the accession protocols are signed, we would then urge the Senate at its earliest opportunity to provide its advice and consent.
Thank you. I'm strongly supportive of accession and will work both with the ranking member through the committee and on the floor to get this ratified. Senator Risch, and I'm going to ask Senator Kaine to preside so I can go vote. Thank you.